Episode 164. This will be the finale to the Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn storyline, leading into Heavensward. Just a few more quests to go from the final patch and we'll be moving on. Komori's vacation is now over. But before we head to the big banquet, I'm going to be making one little pit stop first. I really should start the finale out strong by heading right into the main quest, but I'd be remiss if I didn't at least get this on camera, since I consider the content pretty interesting, to some extent. Could save it for a different episode, but might as well shove it in right here. Now, I use Komori's pretend vacation as a means of stringing together some disparate side content that doesn't really have anything to do with the main story, or with each other really. I like to pretend that Komori's vacation was for more than just fun. The post-Moogle side quests, Lord of Verminion, and Chocobo racing, all for the sake of gaining a high-ranking position in the postal system, mastery over minions, and leadership skills, as well as a fleet of chocobos, or at least some chocobos she can start using or start breeding to build her fleet of chocobos. All for the sake of building up her gang, the Adventurer Squadron, which I like to pretend is actually her own little smuggling ring. All of those things from her vacation kind of fit neatly into building a smuggling ring, I like to pretend. I didn't really think I'd be getting into the whole Adventurer Squadron thing when I started out as Komori, but I guess as time went on in between episodes, it kind of grew a little bit out of hand. And I kind of built them up pretty hard. I'd like to imagine that Komori's little gang here was a group of Lalafell that she ran around with back in the day that would terrorize the streets of Limsa Lominsa, committing petty crimes and whatnot. Limsa Lominsa is filled with pirates and stuff, so I'd like to imagine there were pretty heavy gang wars back in the day or something like it. And most people just stayed out of the crossfire. Nothing serious enough for them to attract the major attention of the city guard or whatever. But yeah, a bunch of little shits running around causing trouble. I didn't really think about, when I started the game, a lot of backstory for Komori, but I guess I like to imagine that she ran away from home in Ul'dah. Didn't really think about where she ended up in those 5 years before the game started, when she comes riding in on that cart, back to Ul'dah. So I guess she spent the time here, hanging out with a bunch of runaways and outcasts, these guys, before the calamity struck and then everyone went their separate ways. Then Komori just kind of slummed it around here for 5 years before running out of funds and coming back home to Ul'dah with her tail tucked between her legs. Something like that. And then, fast forward to a few years later, when she starts up the Adventurer Squadron, and she decides she's going to get the gang back together. The way this whole system works is that you can recruit a bunch of people. I think I did this on camera when I started the Adventurer Squadron, just through a bunch of achievements that you unlock naturally while playing the game. And it actually turns out that some of the content that I just do in the background between episodes naturally attracts Lalafells, which works out for the joke, I guess. It is both the Disciple of Hand and Land, like crafting and gathering stuff. Those challenges, for some reason, attract a high percentage of Lalafells, as well as Gold Saucer stuff, which is where I spend most of my time between episodes. Those attract a wider range of all races, but also Lalafell. And that's how we built up this group over time, so I guess I'll go down the list, rather in person. You spend so much time here, or I spend so much time here in between episodes, because it has exam redresser and a lot of the basic functionality stuff, as well as sending these people on missions that, after staring at their faces for so long, I crafted intricate backstories for each one of them. Starting with Nanasomi, who I guess was just kind of one of the 3 guys that we were given as our initial group for the tutorial of the Adventurer Squadron. Even though I say that this is Komori's gang from back in the day, I imagine Nanasomi wasn't part of that. He was just a new recruit the Maelstrom sent our way. And then he eventually joined the gang. He's sort of like the Giorno Giovanna of the group, the newcomer rising star that joins the gang, which would make Komori the Bruno Bucciarati. Whenever you recruit these people, it gives you, 1, their name, their race, and also not just the reason why they enlisted, but the location they come from. Nanasomi's from the Ruby Road Exchange, which is over here in Thanalan. The Ruby Road. So I like to think he was, I don't know, some kind of merchant or something that joined the Maelstrom but then got wrapped into the fold of Komori's Splinter Cell smuggling ring gang that operates from within the Maelstrom. Covertly, or something. He's sort of like the second in command, I like to think. The tactician of the group. That kind of makes everything run smoothly. In fact, there'd probably be no gang if he weren't around. Just don't actually tell Komori that. He's actually using the Omni something or other. This book that I got from some side quest or other. I don't remember which one. But I like to think of it as Komori's Necronomicon, that she dictated to Nanasomi to write things down in. Some of her experience from all of that necromancy business she got involved with, the Palace of the Dead, all of that Silda zombie powder stuff, and even the alchemy side quest, plus all of the miscellaneous necromancy stuff that keeps on popping up in the story for whatever reason. I like to think that Komori can maybe do a little bit of reading now, but writing's still a little bit hard for her. So she had Nanasomi write down all of the secrets she learned, and he was all too happy to oblige. He's also wearing that one thing that we got from that side quest, the inter-societal side quest that the Ebon Claw had. I guess Komori just kind of pawned it off on him, and he decided to wear it. Next in the gang is... how does this go again? The order here is the order we recruited them in. I just kind of rotated out anybody that we got that wasn't a Lalafell, up until this last guy, but we'll get to him last. Next guy we have is Mumutano. Over... where is he? Ah, here he is. This guy. A Lalafell from Stone's Throw, which is this location right over here in Thanalan. It's rather right just outside of Ul'dah. This location where a bunch of refugees just hang around outside of Ul'dah. I guess they're all Alamegan refugees, which would make Mumutano one of those. He's also a gladiator class, so I like to pretend that he was a gladiator who fought in the ring pretending to be some kind of demon or something. That's the outfit that I sort of gave him. Sort of like pro wrestling or something. Not a real demon. It's all just a costume for the sake of livening up the battles. This would have been the first person that Komori recruited into the gang, or recruited back into the gang. Used to be the muscle of the group. Just because he's the tank. That's really all I got for this guy. And next on the list was Lilaba, I think. Yeah, here she is. The conjurer of the group, from Wineport. Over here in Lanosia, right? Yeah, this place. I like to imagine she was a serving girl that got tired of serving wine to all the patrons that would get drunk and mistreat her, so she decided she wanted to rejoin the gang and start bossing around people, by which I mean chocobos. I've decided she's our special chocobo breeder / trainer or whatever for all of our smuggling operations. Since she worked in Wineport, I like to imagine she's got a deft hand in botany or something. Growing all that wine, maybe she has some skill in growing gissel greens and training chocobos or whatever. My thinly veiled excuse. I also like to think of her as our poisons expert, since she's also somebody that worked with wine. Kind of weird for the poisoner to also be the healer, except I guess that's not weird at all. Poisoning and healing go hand in hand, don't they? We also have Nunalupa Totalupa. This trendy looking guy is a musician from Summerford Farms, which is actually just right outside of Limsalaminsa right here. So I think he's just some musician from the boonies that wanted to strike it big with his musical career, but he never really had it pick up. So he joined back in the gang, but he's still working on his musical prowess, trying to really take off, trying to convince all of the other members of the gang to pick up instruments themselves, so they can form a band. It hasn't really taken off yet. I like to think of him as the undercover specialist or something. He goes busking around playing his lute or whatever instruments he plays, and picks up information, undercover and whatnot. And we've got Chihuahua, who I picture as the group's secretary. She's from Three Mom Bend, which is also just outside of Limsalaminsa here. Don't really know where this would be exactly that she's from, so I'd just like to imagine her as a scholar from the Arcanist Guild right here. And she isn't actually supposed to be a combat role in the group or anything, but she can beat you to death with her bare fists. I made her a pugilist for that reason. We also have... Really should have memorized this. Mugen Pelagin. He is from Candlekeep Quay and is a rogue. Candlekeep Quay is that location way down here in southern Lenosia, where I once tried to find that fate that involved those two pirates beating each other up. So I like to imagine Mugen here is a former pirate that we recruited back into the gang to become our pirate / navigator, not only at sea but also on land. Like to think he's just kind of an airhead that has a knack for getting around or something, either by dumb luck or by instinct. In fact, I kind of think of him as a kind of buddy-buddy bosom buddy or something with Nunalupa over there, just because they kind of both have trendy hairstyles and I guess the outfits I gave them maybe kind of make them look like a pair or something. I think of them as that pair from Squid Game Season 2, sort of. Thanos and his bully buddy, with Nunalupa being Thanos and Mugen being the lackey guy. And Kelmomo I also like to imagine wasn't part of the gang back in the day. Like to imagine she was actually just the gang's first client after they reformed. A rich lady with a penchant for adventure that decided to take a chance on this relatively unknown courier group, and after seeing all the chaos and adventure they got into, decided to become an axe-wielding maniac. But I guess the gang keeps her around because she provides the major funding for the group. Nobody really questions her wearing this dress into battle. She's kind of a menace on the field, I like to think. And in fact, the reason she wears a dress, rather than the glamours that I kind of gave everyone to fit in as a sort of uniform, was because she's actually one of the special NPCs that you can get as part of the Adventurer Squadron that has like a special outfit. This is actually her default outfit dyed a different color, but a lot of the NPCs that you can get in the Adventurer Squadron can end up being one of these special NPCs that has a specific glamour set that doesn't change as they level up. They tend to be funny or cool or something. Kelmomo here just wears the dress into battle, which is pretty fun. But actually I had to... Well, I didn't have to, but in order to get her dress to be a different color that matches the color combination of the rest of the gang, I ended up having to buy all of the clothing here, just off of the market board, for the sake of dyeing it a different color. For whatever reason, you can't just dye the clothes that she has on already. Which is the reason why I'm lacking 300 or 400,000 gil that I used to have a few episodes ago, just for the sake of Kel Momo's clothes. But it's okay. We're lucky to have Kel Momo. If she has good taste in fine fashion or something, we'd be happy to foot the bill for her. And lastly, the elephant in the room. The one guy that's not a Lalafell. I really was just going for an all Lalafell gang for the joke. But then imagine my surprise when another special NPC shows up while I'm trying to roll for that last Lalafell. And that special NPC ends up being Raging Ox, this huge guy who, I swear, was wearing more clothes, or rather less clothes, when he walked in through these doors. In fact, I can show that. This is what he looked like when he walked through the doors. Just the summer evening trunks. The developers of Final Fantasy XIV decided it would be funny if one of the special Adventurer Squadron NPCs that you could get would be a huge Rogadin wearing nothing but summer evening trunks. And to reiterate, none of his clothes change as he levels up. He will always just be running around naked unless you glamour over him. So I decided that he's actually just a male stripper that wandered into our doors one day and got the wrong address. But the gang wouldn't let him leave. Alphinode's Crystal Braze doesn't have bitches, but Komoi's Crimson Blaze got bitches. A singular bitch, Raging Ox. He's the eye candy, not actually a combat role. The pole on his back isn't actually used for Lancer work, it's just his pole for pole dancing. This is the Adventurer Squadron for the Maelstrom, but I like to pretend it is actually Komoi's own Splinter Cell smuggling ring from working within the Maelstrom. Her very own Crimson Blaze, to rival Alphinode's Crystal Blades. Totally not inspired by his name. No, Komoi's just not very creative. The reason I want to introduce everyone was just so that I could do a little bit of command missions with them. A feature that I had to do a little bit of. Up until a few, I think 5 different dungeons completed. In order to rank up into Captain, which I did all of that off screen, there was actually a nice cutscene that happened where, I forget his exact name, I think it was Hilfiswin or something, the second in command to the entire Maelstrom, walks through your doors and personally bestows upon you the rank of Captain. Hilfiswin, or I don't know if I'm getting his name right, is of course that one guy that we did a side quest for over here, somewhere near the Aft Castle, who also appears in the main story, but you learn in that side quest he's Mistbeard, that old pirate guy of legend, that now works as the second in command for Admiral Blofiswin herself. Which I did actually get the rank up on camera, but I guess it doesn't really matter. The command mission that I wanted to do on camera though was this Wanderer's Palace Hard, just so that I get a little taste of what it's like for the sake of this whole series for posterity. We'll bring along Nanasomi, our second in command, the only healer on the team, Lilaba, and Kel Momo. Each character here I actually use some items to change some of their default classes, so that they each fill in, well, one of every job that's available to them, other than Black Mage, which is Komoi. the way these command missions work is they're just a bunch of hand-selected missions, or dungeons from the main game, that the Final Fantasy XIV team thought would be suitable for running through with a bunch of NPCs in. This was sort of the precursor to the duty support system, which has you run through the main story dungeons with a bunch of NPCs. And in a sense it is inferior to that duty support because you have to manually command a bunch of your NPCs here using these buttons here. The engage button, which sends over the tank and everyone to engage. Disengage, which makes everyone just back off from enemies. This does have its uses, but mainly you just want people to go straight up attack. And then a special limit break that can only be done in the command mission, which only takes 1 gauge from the limit gauge, but does have its uses. It's actually optimal to use this rather than the normal limit break. Alright, everyone's ready. The annoying thing about this whole system is that you have to send in the tank manually if you're not the tank. So it's actually best to be the tank yourself, but I'll just be doing this as the black mage. I guess Kelmomo is the only one that gets up close and personal. Maybe I should have brought along Chihuahua, our pugilist. This tends to be a lot slower than the actual duty support, but there are ways to make it go by faster. You might see that Nanasomi over there has a level 3, not sure what you would call it, offensive or whatever. Oh, he's dead. How'd he die? Well, I guess I can show this item. Let's see. These tonics for the use of bringing back fallen allies. How did Nanasomi die so quickly? He's supposed to be our second in command. You're embarrassing us. Yeah, he has level 3 on offensive power. And I guess I should have shown it before we actually entered. But there are different stats like balanced or defensive or something like that. I think the fastest way to make everything work is to just actually put everyone on level 5 offensive. And that way they just take out every enemy way faster than an adventurer, or rather, the duty support ever could. That's right, the reason this is so annoying is that the tank doesn't actually pull aggro on everyone. You have to manually engage using this to point the tank towards your enemies. Almost forgot. And I'm certainly forgetting the actual rotation I'm supposed to be doing for AoE here. It's actually my first time going back into a dungeon as a black mage in a while. So this is how I'm starting out the finale episode. This painstakingly slow adventurer squadron thing. Yeah, Nanasomi seems to be taking the brunt of it. I guess because he's doing such high damage as the only other DPS, and also because he's on level 3 offensive or whatever. That makes him pull all the aggro when Kelmomo isn't manually directed towards the enemy. I think the only real use for this system is for you to farm company seals by getting... Oh. Engage, please. Yeah, by farming company seals here. Engage the other one, please. The point that I'm trying to get to is that you can farm company seals by getting all of the gear from here, since you don't have to share it with anybody else through the normal duty roulette or whatever. Although you'd end up spending a bunch of company seals to even undertake these missions, so that might not be true. So maybe the only real use is to, 1, speed up the leveling up of your adventurous squadron if you want to max it out really quickly for some reason. And 2, to get any gear that you want for glamours from these dungeons, if you do. Alright, here we don't really have to babysit anymore with the engage button, not really. Except we do, because mechanics like this you have to manually direct everyone to engage with, otherwise they just hang around. There are actually certain bosses that are around that make things very hard for you if you don't manually engage. It took me a while to figure that out. And I guess that's partly why they hand-selected these dungeons, to make it more interesting for actually commanding your soldiers, like you're taking command of them. I can't say I really like the system, but it's fine. Alright, everyone engage back the boss, please. Right, I need to be using thunder. Why am I taking so much damage anyway? Why is it always me? Why is Nandasomi dead? Am I doing this wrong? Let's try to watch carefully. Where exactly do things go wrong? Okay, so he's attacking me now, for some reason. Why is it always me? Is it just like a healing check for the healer? That it targets 1 DPS? I don't exactly have enough mana wards to survive all of this crap. Just trying to take care of any spears that come our way. Oh, wait on that. It's a bit of a pain to control these little duty things on controller. It can be done though. Maybe my problem last time was just not taking out the spears quick enough. This is what I was talking about, was how manually controlling these guys tends to be a bit of a pain. I guess you just need to keep your trigger finger on the engage button. Yeah, Lilibuz's having a rough time healing everyone. Is it because I'm not standing close enough? I'm the leader. You should be standing next to me. I think we just kind of go for it. Ignore any spears, just kill. There we go. And Komori leveled up. I don't think this is an efficient way of leveling up. Probably much better to do the duty roulette. For any bonus EXP you get for doing that. I think when I recorded this dungeon actually, we completely ignored this mechanic with the sacred standards and whatever. To be safe, I'm pretty sure we're going to have to interact with this. Don't remember exactly what those standards do other than powering up the Amaja here. I don't think they make them invulnerable or anything like that. Everyone fight the standard, please. I'm actually surprised they only give you one limit break bar, although I guess... Right, you only get one normally anyway, don't you? It's only during bosses that you get two or more. Those wheels, I guess, are only used in the normal mode of this dungeon, so this one's just a straight line, right? Yeah. Well, it looks like Helmomo's drawing aggro decently. Just saved Nanasomi's life without my intervention. But I hear a lot of people hate their adventurer squadrons for reasons like this. Just kind of this hard to interact with system they have in place. The next boss is something that I'm a little bit worried about. Considering it has a bunch of mechanics that even in the normal mode is something I'm not quite sure how they work all. And Nanasomi was almost dead. Please engage. And then re-engage standard. Oh, that was the wrong move. What would have been fun is if I got all of my guys up to level 5 offensive and just kind of steamrolled this place like I was talking about. But unfortunately I didn't really have the time or the patience to do any of that. Still struggling with the controls. This is like non-standard for me. Engage that last one, and then engage that thing. This is certainly not going to be the most exciting finale, but that's pretty much on par with how I normally make videos, isn't it? And this guy again has a bunch of standards that place on the ground, but I think I only know what a few of them actually do. Maybe I can kind of intuit how they work. I guess you only get 2 limit break bars during the final boss. I feel like I should have this memorized by now after all the years I've been playing this game, but for some reason it escapes me. This one I think makes you frogs or something. You guys should probably get out of that. Is there a way I can tell them to get out of that? I don't think there's like a move command. In normal duty support, the NPCs would have AI that make them do the mechanics, but no such AI is in place here in Adventurer Squadrons. I think you want to trigger some of these standards before he retrieves them, otherwise they cause problems for you or something. Or they could just be traps around the room. Oh, he's gonna toad us. So the toad is... was it this one? It was not that one. It was this one then. Okay, that was damage up. I guess some of these are beneficial. That's fire resistance down. Well, I have no idea what I'm doing, I guess. One of them makes you not a toad. I'm dying. Because my fire resistance is down. Put up that mana ward, please. What an embarrassing move for the leader of the Crimson Braves to do. Crimson Braves? No. It's Crystal Braves and Crimson Blaze. Not even Komor can get it right. Well, that's damage up. We're out of Toad anyway. Was it really not one of these standards that takes you... No, they definitely turn you back from Toad, I'm sure. Must have been a color that I just didn't try or something. And Kelmomo was barely hanging on. She had like 69 health back there. Maybe you should go into battle wearing some actual armor or something. Although I guess we're not wearing much better ourselves. I actually got pretty confident in pulling multiple mobs back in the earlier dungeons with this whole Adventurer Squadron setup. But I feel like it's a little bit harder here right now, just because one, the group that I'm running through this with doesn't have all of those extra stats other than Nanasomi. I kind of cycled out those guys that had the higher... whatever these are actually called. Tactics is what they're called. I had a group with like level 5 tactics and whatnot, some of them on even level 5 offensive. And we would steamroll the dungeons, but I had to rotate them out just for the joke of being Lalafell, which is really just going to appear in this finale episode for only part of it, and nowhere else in my recordings. But I guess that's part of the fun of starting a second character, just doing a bunch of random bullshit. I have to press the touchpad to use this whole engage system, but that also cycles the cursor through everything else you can click. This is also the precursor to a different function that they had, I think, starting in Stormblood, which is called the duty actions or something. Those are more integrated with the actual controller, PS5 controller stuff. Because you just use one of these sticks whenever you're holding the right trigger or the left trigger to activate them. You can't use the sticks to activate these orders here because they didn't really think it out for controller that much. All you can do is just kind of move them with the D-pad, but that makes it hard to do other things that use the D-pad, like your attacks and whatnot. Are you going? Do we have to interact here or something? Oh no, wait, we need more? I think we need more tomberries. That's all of them. All 2 of them. I probably could have used the Ungarmax limit break a little bit earlier in the fight, or rather in the second boss, and even the first boss when I had it back up back then. And it would have been back and ready for the final boss. It's fine. Why am I the one being attacked? The answer is that I'm not using the engage command properly. What I need to do is like switch targets every few seconds and press engage or something. Well, before all that, we should just be attacking the Purulent whatever guy. He's summoning all of these other guys, I think. My rotation is all screwed up. If I have to weave in all of these squadron commands into my rotation, I'm definitely going to forget. Maybe what I do is I just tell them to engage before I even start my rotation on all of the enemies and then start attacking myself. Okay, she brought it over. Another reason I thought I might squeeze this into the finale episode was 1, just to artificially lengthen the time, because I don't think the final quest is going to take that long, and 2, well, I guess this is for the same reason as number 1, because there aren't really any trials or dungeons left in the final quests. The stopping point that I decided on for doing all of the side content that I wanted to do was right before the banquet, which is the same point in time where Minfilia directs you to finish the Crystal Tower series of raid quests, if you haven't done so already, which is required by the main game. Notably required by the game only after a certain point in time around the, I think it was Shadowbringers expansion. Before all that it was all optional. And it's pretty obvious why it becomes standard or required, but it's neither here nor there. So that point in time where she tells you now is the time to focus on other things other than my missions, like she literally tells you, that's the point in time where I decided it would be good to do all of the side content I wanted to wrap up on. Yep, that was a wrong attack. And that screwed up my astral fire or whatever. If I had unlocked a Nokian, I would have lost it so many times in this dungeon it would be embarrassing. And then there's this guy. Not Galul Jaja. Or not Galul, rather Zoral Jaw? No. The leader of the Dawn Trail guys in... whatever, I don't remember his name. His actual name here is Molal Jah. I guess in the other episode I talked about the trivia and I also messed it up back then, but whatever. So as we start up, first I'm going to do this. Then we're going to execute Ungermax. Please. There we go. I was a little bit late on that, so my fire tree is going to go away. Everyone does a cool attack, and then you get a damage up for a while. Damn. I lost the fire tree. The main thing about this damage up is how useful it is for... Oh no. Please heal me to full. That's how you get rid of this, right? There we go. How embarrassing for the leader to get hit by all of these attacks. I guess this is probably how... Shit. Man Award? Yeah, this is probably how the gang runs itself anyway. Komori herself is pretty incompetent, so everyone's just kind of picking up after her. Komori, or rather, Nanasomi is the one that does all the actual commanding. That's my headcanon. For this side content, that doesn't actually matter to the game. Okay, this is a problem. Can you disengage Kelmomo so we can... Yeah, the problem is that he's standing in the center. And also, yeah, this is how this whole thing works. You're supposed to be engaging him outside of the standards that he puts up. And also be taking them down. It's okay, you guys focus on the boss. Okay, shit. Maybe I should stand closer to everyone. I have the range after all. Just because I don't think I can manage them attacking the standards without them dragging the boss back into that circle. I'm gonna have to attack these standards on my own. Alright, re-engage. And please heal me to full. Gotta stand close to everyone. And take this thing down. Komori's work is truly cut out for her. We're getting somewhere now though, I think. No, that's the standard. Please disengage. And re-engage. That's why this whole function is useful, just for boss mechanics like this. Nope. Need to cast one more Blizzard. And now we got these guys. Please engage. I worry for Kelmomo's safety if we don't take out these guys. Mana Ward. Alright, the barrier protects me that time. Yeah, the true difficulty here isn't really the boss, it's just managing your adventurous squadron. I guess it's fun in its own way how difficult it can be. And we've already got another limit break slash Ungor Max back. Please disengage. Oh no, we've lost Kelmomo and... Oh shit. Should I even use this? We're about to die. Damn. Where did things go wrong there? What a pain in the ass. This is lasting long enough that I can make this its own episode at this point, but I've already committed. This is still going to be the finale. It was supposed to be just a 30-minute thing that I squeeze in right at the beginning. I think I'm definitely going to be cutting out all of these failed attempts though. Probably just include the last one, like I did with all that other stuff these last few episodes. Alright, this time we're going to try the standard. Doesn't seem like we have any actual debuffs right now. I don't see it. What do these standards actually do? I don't see any buff on the boss either. Oh, there's another standard already. This is definitely not what you're supposed to do, I think. Rotting lungs. And then it just comes back. This is not what you're supposed to do. But his health is going down. And then it's back. Again. I think these standards are maybe giving me this poison debuff or something. Maybe I just stand out of it myself and let Momo do whatever she wants in it. I think the Sacred Idol is a problem though. It tethers to him, so it does something. Alright, back on him. Maybe whenever I disengage or whatever, and then re-engage, it becomes a huge problem for the AI that does the healing and the tanking, or something. Like they can't do their healing or whatever things they need to do to keep everyone alive. Uh-oh. Well, I've got Mana Ward, right? Alright, we didn't get any problems from that. Momo is almost dead. I think she's almost always almost dead, and then Lilibut just barely heals her. We're not a very functional group, us. Should have expected it. Just loosely forged ties and whatnot. You can never be too careful with that sort of thing. Alright. Just barely got out of it. We're going to do this now. Everyone, please try to finish it. I do like that little cross slash they do. We're actually going to do another Unger Max while the damage up is up. Maybe not the most efficient usage. But I do like that damage. Alright guys, you can do it if you try. By which I mean I have no idea how we did it. But we made it. I'm sure that built a lot of team morale. The ups and the downs. All of my yelling at my teammates, telling them how terrible they were. They love that sort of thing, right? Careful, Komoi. If you don't treat your teammates right, that could be you. How is it, everyone? High morale, right? No? Just kind of blank stares, angrily seething at me? That's fair. I don't think they're going to leave the gang, though. They have nowhere else to go. That's how you build strong bonds, isn't it? Well, now that that's out of the way, we can actually get to the finale. Nanasomi, I am giving you command of the Crimson Blaze. The hat is yours. Looks good on him. Although I'm leaving, I don't want anyone to make a mess of the place. I'm just going to be gone for a little while. There's going to be a banquet, and Komori is going to be representing the Crimson Blaze. I'm sure everyone is going to miss her. Nobody seems to be looking her way, though. I guess they want her gone. So that's that on Adventurer Squadrons. All the stuff that I've been doing in the background for them was just for that little bit on camera. I guess I captured the frustration of commanding the Adventurer Squadron, which is, I guess, in its own right, in its own way, worth it. We'll be wearing these clothes into the banquet. I could go back to Komori's usual attire, which is just the brand new adventure attire that I wore the entire series, but I guess we can just kind of dress up special for the ending. It's been a long, long journey, made even longer by all of the unnecessary stuff I included in my episodes. Not including, or especially including, what I just did. We can finally wrap up. Though recent events weigh heavily on our minds, we must needs set them aside for now. Infilia is referring to, well, a bunch of different things, I guess, but one of them being the murder of one of those Crystal Braves members. I'm ashamed to say that I forgot his name, but he was the young man from Little Alamigo that once tried to summon Ralgar at the behest of the Ascians, then turned his ways around and tried to do good for the realm only to get a knife in the back somehow. We are come to a defining moment in Eorzean history. The grand commemoration of our joint defense of Ishgard, the first time in 15 long years that our people have stood side by side with our neighbors, to the north, to fight in common cause. This may mark the true rebirth of the Eorzean alliance. Failing that, it should at the very least serve to bring our nations closer together. And it should also serve as a great debut for Komori's Crimson Blaze. I know Alphinaud is going to be there with his Crystal Braves. We have every reason to raise our voices in celebration, do we not? We have bested Dravanians and Ascians both. Against desperate odds, we have fought and won. But the primals still plague us, and the Empire still plots our subjugation. And our triumphs, remarkable though they are, were bought at a terrible price. Probably referring to Moonbreeda. Brave adventurers and allies, broken on the steps of faith. And before our eyes in this very room, our dear friend Moonbreeda. Right. This is the victory we have wrought, and it is as bitter ashes in my mouth. Don't really want to hear our leader say that. But I guess Komori isn't much of a leader herself, so who are we to judge? I guess she's just being honest. I would sooner stay here and invite those with more appetite to enjoy the feast in my stead. Alas, it is a royal banquet, and all our allies will be in attendance. It is our duty to represent a united front, that we might serve as a beacon of hope to all. It seems I have no choice but to take my own advice. Yeah, it's your turn for a vacation. I instructed the others to meet us in Ul'dah, that we might make our grand entrance together. Unfortunately, I had to settle for leaving Tataru and Lamina a note. If they do not return quickly, they will have to settle for whatever leftovers I can smuggle out of the fragrant chamber. Not if we get to it first. Off to the big soiree, Komori. Raise a glass for me, eh? Or not? You don't look best pleased. Les, something on your mind? Yeah, I just had a harrowing experience with my own gang. Right when we were about to debut, too. But that's neither here nor there. And it's also exactly not what Ryle is referring to. What is it that Komori is troubled by? Right, his name was Wilred. By the Navigator, Wilred's dead? God damn it. They must know they've been rumbled. Sod it. 'Tis past time we had this talk. After our last conversation, I got to thinking about where certain funds were coming from. So I had to dig around, on the quiet like, and sure enough I found it. Seems a fair bit of coins made its way into the Braves' coffers courtesy of the Dodo Consortium. A daft name for a business if I ever heard one, which is what first gave me an inkling that something weren't right. So I went through the letters again, and found another half-dozen donations from organizations with stupid bloody names. Didn't take long to find the common thread. All were owned by the Mirage Trust. Oh, I'll give the bastard credit. He showed us up for the amateurs we are. Short of calling one of his businesses the bloody Bribery Consortium, I don't know what more he could have done to mock our rules on financial contributions. Sounds like Alphinode's gang isn't really well put together. Maybe we stand a chance in the inevitable gang wars that are definitely happening after all. The gods only know how many men of the first and third are taking Telegi's coin. But now we know some of them are. I'd wager me right eye, they're the ones what did for Wilred. The earnest young fool had taken to asking the wrong kind of questions. Bound to attract attention, he was. Should have seen it at the time. But I didn't, God damn me. Still, I don't see what Telegi hopes to accomplish. He hid his scheme with all the care of a drunk pissing into the wind. No, he's cleverer than this, so we need to be cleverer too. That's the only way we'll ever repay this debt of blood. We'll purge every one of them traitorous bastards from our ranks. On that you have me word. And Komori actually hopes you do it. And Komori, mind yourself when you're in Ul'dah, eh? We're heading into a storm, I can smell it. The kind what'll sweep a man overboard and drag him under before he knows it. It would be a shame if Alphinode's Crystal Braves committed self-immolation right before the inevitable gang wars that are definitely happening ever even happen. This is supposed to be a fun game for Komori. We're supposed to be rivals with Alphinode. It's all just for fun. Well, Ryle called it a storm that we're going into, but it's supposed to be a fun party. Is everyone here ready for the party? If I did not know better, I should think our bard had run afoul of another jilted lover. Is that? No, just my imagination. Oh, pay no attention to me. 'Tis a habit from my misspent youth, looking over my shoulder from time to time. What's he looking at? Someone down here, or across the ways even? Sometimes NPCs could just be hanging out in random locations or whatever. Might not even be one that we can see, but if there is one, it might show up in the trivia or something, for the quest on the wiki or something. Well, I don't know what Dankwood's looking at. Don't see anyone down there. It's a banquet, so there'll definitely be food. But will there also be dancing? And if there is, will it be before or after the food? Dancing on a full stomach is no fun, but neither is being hungry. What to do? It's a good thing Komori trained for this. Shortly before fighting Nail Deus Darnus, I remember. We got a pretty good ball dance, didn't we? Taught to us by the Lord of the Dance himself, or whatever that guy was. Very famous guy. Are we going to debut our dance moves alongside the Crimson Blaze? Maybe. I do hope Ida is not under the impression that we are here to make merry. We are ostensibly the antecedent's escort, after all. We're here for fun, Papalimo. This is Minfilia's vacation. And by extension, the Scion's vacation. And by extension, our extended vacation, even though our vacation was over. We have been waiting for you, Komori. The celebration is due to begin shortly. I had hoped that we might make our introductions together, but Mistress Momodi just sent word that you are needed at the quicksand. Oh, well, okay. We will go on ahead, Komori. Pray join us once matters at the quicksand are resolved. Give my regards to Momodi, and let her know that I will call upon her anon. What's that supposed to mean, Dankred? Surely she's not one of your old flames. Let's walk there. We could just use the Ethernet and teleport straight there. But since the quest is right here in the quicksand, or right here in Ul'dah, we can take it a little bit slow. Even if I spent a whole lot of time doing absolutely meaningless content at the start of this finale episode, I'm still going to waste time by walking from place to place when I could teleport. This is, after all, one of the last times we're going to be, well, here in Ul'dah, Eorzea in general, when we move on to Heavensward, which is in Ishgard. You still always come back to Eorzea and everything, but it's less frequent. It becomes sort of an afterthought sometimes. You still have quests here in Eorzea, but I don't know, other places just kind of take precedent, don't they? New and shiny places. And by extension, Eorzea just becomes a little bit dull and unpolished, doesn't it? Just memories of awkward game design and a story. But I've come to appreciate it, so we'll take it slow, one last time, for a Realm Reborn. I appreciate you dropping in on such short notice, Komori. I know you've got places to be, so I won't waste your time. You're friends with a Crystal Brave by the name of Alianne, aren't you? I do remember her. She was an adventurer. I'll let Momodi finish. Former adventurer? Come to think of it, I'm pretty sure you recruited her yourself. Alianne is the one who had her grandpa, Issy Elder, as an adventuring buddy that you would find outside of dungeons when you were first starting out, delving into dungeons. Just like, what was her name? Edda. Edda from the Palace of the Dead and everywhere else, all over the place. Just like Edda's group of adventurers, you would find Aliand and Isildur outside of dungeons, just to, I guess, give you a sense for what adventurers in Eorzea are like, going into dungeons and whatnot, world building and whatnot. And then she joined the Crystal Braves, but her grandpa didn't. Well, anyway, she came round for a meal not long ago, and before she left, she asked me to give you a message. Said if the others ended up dragging you to the feast, I was to see you got it before you made your grand entrance. Meet me at the station west of the Coffer and Coffin. There's something I must show you. A short message, I'll grant you, but she thought long and hard before picking those words. Barely touched her food, too. Under other circumstances, I'd have thought those signs of a troubled heart. But something tells me she ain't planning to ask your thoughts on a gentleman caller. Best not keep Alion waiting, or your friends at the feast for that matter. Well, I guess we're going outside of Thanaland. Or rather, outside of Ul'dah. By the way, I was very particular to get rid of most of these blue icons from Realm Reborn, other than the actual job quests and quests for becoming a crafter / gatherer, which I guess are also job quests. But this one isn't one, and I purposefully left it not unlocked, because it's just leave quests. And even though I'm finishing up a Realm Reborn here, I will still never unlock leave quests, just because I don't want their blue icons populating the entire map from here on out. I guess they are content that might be worth getting on camera, maybe, just to show what they're like. But if I accept this one leave quest right here, which unlocks leave quests everywhere else, and that's going to unlock a bunch of blue icons all over the map that I don't want littering my minimap. So I guess that's just one of the things that I'm going to leave hanging. Maybe if I get all the way into Dawn Trail and finish Dawn Trail as Komoy, and I guess by then there will be more expansions out, if I finish those, maybe then, and only then, will I come back to do the leave quests. I couldn't even really tell you what function leave quests serve, like what niche they serve to make your experience better. I mean, I guess they're good for experience or something, but I tend to just get experience other ways. It might be slightly more efficient to just use the leave quests or whatever. And maybe they're useful for gathering other materials which are used in, I think, crafting and gathering or something. But I don't think I ever found out on my main character, and I'm certainly not going to find out on Komoy. Not unless I absolutely run out of every other content in the game. Or I find out how completely wrong I am on how useful leave quests actually are. I'm sure if they do include them in the later expansions, which they do, and there's a pretty good reason to actually do them. Where are the stairs? Actually, how are you supposed to approach this normally? There are stairs right here, but it feels like if you're waiting here for a train, you're just going to find a bunch of bandits right next to it or something, or whatever these Kikirin are. I guess this is just for miners though, so it's not really for use by the general public. Not exactly a train station. Well, we're here. When we could be at the banquet, stuffing our face. Where the hell is this girl? As you stand upon the platform, your thoughts begin to wander, and all too soon, the ghosts of comrades lost and enemies slain begin to fall by your mind's eye, in solemn procession. Clearing your head, you scan the horizon, but see no sign of Alion. Kind of got a little bit dark there for no reason. Why are you thinking of that right now, Komoy? I guess we'll keep waiting. It's a foggy day. Straining your ears to listen, you hear the chatter of Kikirin and the buzzing of syrphids, but no approaching footfall. Sighing, you bow your head, only to notice the vial resting at your feet. I did notice that. Komoy, is that you? What brings you out this way? I forgot who Laurentius was. Right. I remember now. Lieutenant Alion? Why no, I haven't seen her about. First of all, Laurentius here is the guy that we recruited from Gridania. He was as part of the main quest, a wood whaler who actually betrayed the wood whalers by feeding information to Guardians. He ended up being arrested, but I guess after he was put on parole or whatever, he tried to turn his life around. We recruited this former convict into the Crystal Braves ourselves. Had she come this way, I guarantee we would have crossed paths. I must have passed this spot a dozen times. We're to patrol the city's environs on account of the royal banquet. Captain's orders, you understand? Speaking of which, isn't it about to begin? You should be with the other honored guests, enjoying your well-deserved respite. I pray return to Old Komoy. If I chance to meet the lieutenant, I will tell her you were here.
O Sultanry, hallowed spirit of my line. Through my weakness, the glorious house of Ul has all but disappeared beneath the sands. For want of the strength to raise it up again, it were better that it fall. Forgive me, but I know not what else to do.
What exactly did we get here? Did Komoy even read it? Oh wait, it wasn't a message in a bottle. The clouded vial. This tiny glass container appears to have been used before. But to contain what, pray tell? I assumed it was just a message from Alian, but it was just some random bottle in the location we were supposed to meet. Laurentius is still hanging out here. It's awfully quiet here. Laurentius. Gods, I envy you. All that food and wine. But I cannot think of a woman more deserving. Enjoy the feast, Komoy. You've earned it. Keep it up. We'll walk back, but we'll take a little shortcut. Actually, I could have taken this route. It's still technically a pass the first time that I was making my way over to the destination. I was just trying to stick to this general path that's laid out on the map, as I tend to whenever I'm feeling RP or whatever. We didn't see Alphinode with the other Scions at the gathering with Minfilia. Is he going to be here? Really want to shove in his face our new gang. Come to think of it, Oriander isn't here either. He finished all of his quests over at the Waking Sands. What reason does he have to stay over there? He can join us at the banquet. Did he not get the memo? Was he not invited? That's very rude. Everyone always forgets Oriander. I reckon you'd head straight for the feast after meeting with Alian. What's the matter? No appetite? So she wasn't there, but this was, eh? Let's see. Looks to me like an alchemist file, but beyond that, I can't say. Might be best if you hold on to it for safekeeping, though. Komori, you're an alchemist, you should know. Any road, no use worrying about Alianne. I'm sure she'll turn up before too long, and when she does, we'll soon find out what this was all in aid of. Besides, you've got more important things to think about. Yeah, she's right. But come on, Komori. You're a level 90 alchemist. That's 10 levels away from max level. Again, all of that I just got from turning in provision quests for the Maelstrom. All that sizable experience, or whatever, supply missions, those ones. Pretty easy way to level up over time. Even at level 90, she can't recognize what's in the vial. But I guess because I leveled her up just through those supply quests, which I didn't even do myself, I just bought them from the market board rather than crafting them myself. Komori's experience as an alchemist is all fake, so she has no idea what's in the bottle. Oh good, Alphinaud will be there. Would you believe that, while you were away, another message arrived for you? Fancy that. Well, one did. One delivered by the Sultana's handmaiden, no less. Seems her grace desires a private audience. Her handmaiden will meet you on the royal promenade and escort you to the Sultana's chambers. So what are you waiting for? Go on then, go.
You needn't trouble yourself so.
Your grace is most kind, but it is no trouble to me, rather an honor. If your grace is ready, I shall summon the warrior of light.
I am.
Everyone looks to be in high spirits.
With good cause.
A common victory may serve to unite even the most unlikely of allies. You've brought us one step closer to a united Eorzea.
Your modesty knows no bounds, Antecedent. Were it not for your efforts, Sir Emmerich would never have become such a steadfast ally. When he convinces his countrymen to rejoin the Alliance, we shall all reap the benefits, military and economic. I tell you, we are on the cusp of a new era of unity and prosperity. Territorial disputes are all that divide us now. But I have faith that we will find an amicable solution in time. And failing that, I'll have my trusty warrior of light box the ears of all concerned. Speaking of whom...
She will be joining us shortly. A matter at the quicksand required her attention, but it did not sound serious.
Interesting that this questline is kind of giving us a bunch of cut-ins to everyone, like as a meanwhile sort of thing. Don't normally see that, I don't think, in cutscene design in this game, at least I don't remember. Which way is up? I guess there are several stairs up, but I'll be using this one. Really could just use the Ethernet at this point. But I guess I'm just taking it slow, right until the finish line. Why rush? I just don't want it to be over. I guess I want the new things to begin, but I still don't want this to be over. Can't have it both. Thank you for coming, madam. Her Grace is most eager to speak with you. If you require a moment to compose yourself before your audience, you may have it. Or if you are ready, it would be my honor to escort you to Her Grace's chambers forthwith. And here it is, the notorious line of dialogue that I think we maybe saw at some other point in time, but this is a repeating thing that happens a lot of times whenever they have a bunch of cutscenes. It's actually a trigger for a lot of people to get excited, me included. Upon proceeding to the Sultana's bedchamber, several cutscenes will play in sequence. It is recommended that you set aside sufficient time to view these scenes in their entirety. It's always that same set of phrases and whatnot, and it gets me hyped every time. Here we go.
Enter.
Your Grace, your guest has arrived.
Pray, come in, and take your ease.
"'Tis well that the steps of faith held against the Horde.
And what of the city proper?
We sustained some few losses, but the heart of our nation yet beats with vigor. I am not certain I could say the same had we not received your most generous aid.
An attack on Ishgard is an attack on the realm. We stand together or fall divided.
Alfie Node is in the corner, scoffing. I am too. I didn't even need to comment on it.
Such noble words after the fact.
I had hoped to speak in the presence of Her Grace, but it seems she has been delayed. That being the case, now would seem as good a time as any. Honored friends, pray allow me to convey Ishgard's warmest gratitude for your part in the defense of our lands. "'Tis upon the success of this very alliance that my recommendation to throw open the gates of judgment shall be founded. With the blessing of the Archbishop, it is my hope that Ishgard will soon be reunited with her long-estranged sister nations, and that Eorzea shall once more be as one.
Very well.
Is aught amiss?
Nothing to worry about. I shall return anon. You wished a word, Yu Hase?
You may go.
Your Grace.
You must be curious as to the reason for this private audience. The matter I would discuss, however, will soon make apparent the need for discretion.
And we would like to discuss something with you. A business opportunity. Maybe you could fund the Crimson Blaze, our smuggling ring. It's illegal, but I'm sure that's no problem for the Sultana, right? To associate with an illegal gang. But, we can talk about your thing first.
I intend to abdicate the throne and dissolve the monarchy.
Okay. That's gonna make it hard for us to get funding from you.
You have seen for yourself the storm of turmoil that howls through our streets. The government fails in its responsibilities, and my subjects suffer the consequences of our incompetence. But I will see them suffer no longer. The victory feast shall provide the stage on which I declare the dissolution of the Sultanate. 'Tis mine intent that the ruling class of our golden city should take its place beside the common man in a fair and equitable republic. No more shall this nation bow to the whims of a privileged few. Yet, that which I propose will entail the tearing up of this city's very foundations. And even Reborn, with all his strength and influence, will be hard-pressed to keep his footing on such treacherous ground. Thus would I ask you to lend him a steadying hand. You who have endured the wrath of innumerable foes are the one hero in whom I can place my trust. Will you do this thing for me? I am truly grateful. More grateful than I can well express. How much we have both changed since that day we met beneath the Sultan tree. And the days ahead promise to change us further still. I hope that we will recognize ourselves when all of this is over.
How fun. Special dialogue that you get only if you started your character in Ul'dah of the 3 city-states. Because meeting her under the Sultan tree was just part of the Ul'dah questline. I guess I never saw this on my main character.
Your Grace! Her Grace, the Sultana, is dead. Poison in her wine?
Really hamming it up there, Telechi.
You did this!
Spare us your denials! I see no other suspects, and the room has but the one entrance. I hereby accuse you of regicide. Men, arrest this viper.
Sir, barring a few exceptions, we have detained all those with allegiance to the Scions. The Rising Stones is also under our control.
And what do you hope to achieve with this mutiny?
Why, that which we have striven for all along, Commander. The salvation of Eorzea.
What is the meaning of this?
Knights from the homeland. This cannot bode well.
Lord Commander, we have received an urgent message from the Holy See. I am grieved to report that your serpentine foes have resumed their assault. Needless to say, your presence is urgently required. These knights have come to bear you swiftly home to Ishgard.
A surprise attack?
We've had no such word from our men, and the timing is most fortuitous to catch us away from the city.
Most fortuitous indeed.
Lord Commander, we must away.
You have been a most gracious host. I hope that I might one day return the favor. Come, Lucia.
Whatever is going on in there? Ah, the ever-dutiful brass blades. I must apologize, but my dance card is rather full. Another time, perhaps?
Thancred, of the Scions of the Seventh Dawn. You stand accused of committing acts of espionage in service to the Garlean Empire.
Espionage? What in the seven hells are you talking about? Ah, if you're referring to that business with the Ultima weapon, then you must understand, I wasn't myself.
This isn't about La Habrea, Tancred.
Under interrogation, an Imperial prisoner revealed your involvement in numerous dealings with the enemy. We've also been investigating reports that you are a practitioner of forbidden arts.
Okay, maybe this is about the La Habrea stuff on the surface.
You'd best come along with us.
You invite me to your party and now you want me to leave? I do so detest receiving mixed signals. Come then. I believe I've lost my appetite for this farce of a celebration.
You go too far, Lord Adeleji. By what right do you march armed soldiers into a royal banquet and eject state visitors without her grace's consent? You treat the brass blades as your personal army and show contempt for the throne with your every act. Leave us, now.
Is that an order, General? Mayhap you have mistaken me for one of your flames. You will find I am not so slavishly obedient. And you lecture me on personal armies. As for your outrageous claim that I have shown contempt for the throne, let all here observe that it was not I who feasted while an assassin removed its occupant. I expect this is your idea of defending the nation, is it? This and diluting our forces through these distractions in Cartano and Kurthis. I do begin to see how the ranks of the Immortal Flames came to be riddled with Garlean sympathizers. You are plainly unfit for command.
Wait, goddamn you. Your words make no sense. What assassin?
You mean to say you don't know? We caught the vaunted champion of the Scions in her Grace's private chambers, not moments after the deed was done.
No! No, this cannot be!
Save your breath. You will need it to plead your case. You and your entire order are to be tried for this atrocity. Bring in the prisoner!
This woman stands accused of poisoning Her Royal Majesty Nanamu ul Namo and is suspected accessories to the crime. All members of the Scions of the Seventh Dawn will be detained for questioning.
This is madness!
What a pity. Who'd have thought your tale would end like this?
Should you demand further proof, a vial with traces of the substance used to poison her grace was found upon the assassin's person.
How very convenient.
You would speak of convenience? Who persuaded her grace to host this celebration? A diversion which presented you and your confederates ample opportunity to commit the crime, and a crowd within which to fade from view. A more convenient occasion I could scarcely imagine.
How dare you! After all we have done for Uldar!
Hold your tongue, witch! I'll not be ensorcelled! I know all about the dark gift that you and your disciples wield. Oh yes, I've observed how you worked upon the minds of the Alliance leaders, bending them to your will. And what of your cordial relationship with Sir Emmerich? For years, Ishgard abjured all contact with the outside world, and now the Lord Commander of the Temple Knights treats you with the familiarity of a childhood friend. I'll tell you what I think. I think this desperate defense of Ishgard was but a ruse to deceive us into dividing our forces. Your next move will be to charm your Kurthan allies into invading our lands. Now that is truly ridiculous.
How do you even think of this stuff?
She cannot be dead. Stand aside, Ilbert. I want to see the Sultana.
Spare yourself the pain, brother. I saw her with my own eyes. For a mercy, the poison took her swiftly. Her handmaiden can attest to that.
This cannot be. Nanamo. Nanamo. No!
Plainly, the Royalists can no longer be relied upon to keep our nation safe. And so it falls to the monitorists of the Syndicate to govern Uldar. But should you wish to help us, General, we would be more than happy to entrust the task of planning Her Grace's funeral to you. It seems only right that you should bury your precious Sultana, and we will be glad to be rid of that burden.
Damn. Why is he thinking it on so thick? He doesn't even have to.
I'll bet you will. You more than any man.
Whatever do you mean?
They made facial expressions just for this bastard. Don't think any other character wears this expression on their face.
I mean, you had her killed, you black-hearted bastard!
What rot! Though I did have sufficient motive, 'tis true. That young lady caused me no end of grief. She always was a most unwilling puppet. I dare say Her Grace was grateful that someone thought to cut her strings.
You would mock her, then mock her from hell!
What?
Have you lost your mind, General? It is forbidden to draw steel in the royal chambers, much less slaughter our fellow Syndicate members. You're one of them. You've been in league with the Scions all along.
You're next, you scheming bastard!
Oh, Reborn!
7 hells!
Admiral, we must leave.
Ah!
How unlike you, old friend. I did not expect to take your arm so easily.
Take the Scions into custody. They have conspired to commit regicide. And arrest this traitor as well.
Ilbert, I hope you choke on their coin.
'Tis better than the dirt I've supped on these long years. We can't all abandon Alamigo and become great war heroes as you have. You are not the man you once were, Reborn. Since that girl strapped the yoke around your neck, you've become docile. She took the mad bull and cut off his balls, and a bull that cannot rot is fit for naught but slaughter. Shall I tell you who really killed your precious Sultana? It was me.
You die! I never doubted you, not for a moment. But there is more to this than I yet understand. Flee this place. Clear your names. Find out who is behind this plot. It is the only way. Now go!
Even back in A Realm Reborn, cutscene designers can get crazy if they want to. Such choreography.
Ah, there you are.
Thancred, where have you been?
Avoiding the fumbling advances of some very persistent admirers. When I realized the celebrations had turned sour, it seemed prudent to slip away and take stock of the situation. 'Twould appear that much of the city is already under tight guard. It occurs to me that expanding the Brass Blade's authority may not have been such a wonderful idea after all.
The success of this plan was contingent upon those thugs having the run of the place. Just how long has this scheme been in motion?
The careful preparations, the maneuvering of forces. I am inclined to agree with the General's insistence that a deeper plot exists here.
So, would I be right in thinking we now have an excuse to pummel as many brass blades as we like?
Unless you plan on pummeling them all, I'm not sure that will greatly aid our cause.
The Sultana's assassination was but one part of the scheme. We too were its targets. And though we did not share poor Nanamo's fate, we are yet hobbled by the charges laid at our door. Where now might we seek refuge?
Where indeed, we may safely assume that our foe has thought to have the Rising Stones watched.
They better not be in Komori's secret spot behind the boxes.
Forgive me for stating the obvious, but our choice of destination will matter little if we cannot secure an escape route out of Ul'dah. Happily, I believe I can provide one. Papa Shan once told me about the passages hidden in the walls of the palace. If I recall correctly, the fireplace in Nanamo's chambers conceals the entrance to a tunnel. It should lead outside the city and allow us to avoid any messy confrontations.
The rest of you, go on ahead. I'll handle this lot.
By yourself? I suppose I shall just have to join you.
Crystal Graves too, huh? Now this should be interesting.
Ida! Papa Limo!
We will hold our pursuers here. Hurry, now! Find this tunnel of Thancreds.
Minfilia, we cannot linger.
Now look what you've done.
Ida, are you all right? There are just too many of them.
I'm fine. I could do this all day. How about you?
Nearing the end of my tether.
This is so stupid. We're the scions of the Seventh Dawn. The ones who stand between this realm and the evil that's trying to destroy it.
And if you think we'll leave the stewardship of Eorzea to the likes of your masters, then you're sorely mistaken.
Sorry I dragged you into this, Papa Limo.
'Tis hardly the first time, and I'll be damned if it will be the last. Let them have it, Ida!
I was hoping you'd say that.
think they'd probably blow up the building with that.
I never knew such a watercourse existed beneath Uldar.
The architecture is of the Sildine style, if I'm not mistaken. The ancients plainly foresaw the need for a ready means of escape.
This way!
Well, that didn't take long. It seems these tunnels were not as secret as I'd hoped.
You two, go on ahead. Thancred and I will deal with this.
What do you mean to do?
Only that which is required to ensure that the dawn's light survive to brighten the morrow.
Fear not, antecedent. You haven't seen the last of these fair features.
My friends.
Leave us!
What is the plan, milady? Shall I take the dozen on the left and you the dozen on the right? The odds are not exactly stacked in our favor.
Numbers will count for little when I bring the tunnel down upon their heads. Though I cannot say I relish the thought of being entombed with you for all eternity.
You wound me. I will have you know that many a maid would kill for the chance to spend forever at my side. Now, may I have the last dance?
Y'shtola is supposed to be a conjurer, a healer.
Well, this is going splendidly. Now would be a good time, milady!
'Tis done.
She's that kind of healer. A role model to all offensive healers in Final Fantasy XIV.
Forgive me, Mitra.
Farewell, Nymphilia.
Heidelin, she speaks to me. No. I must remain behind, but you cannot stay with me.
Why? Why would Heidelin tell you that?
Please, you must go on. You are the warrior of light. You are hope for the Scions and for all the realm. As long as your flame continues to burn, the light of the dawn may ever be relit. You must escape and save Eorzea from those who would plunge it into darkness. "'Tis the only way.
And one by one, all gone. All alone. Completely powerless to do anything, again. Are you seething with rage right now, Komori?
I am glad to see you safe, my friend. What of the others? Damn that man! Taleji played me for a fool! I thought the Crystal Brave's mine till the very moment I felt the blade at my back.
There will be ample time for soul-searching later. For now, we must put some arms between us and Ul'dah.
Well, would you look who it is? Need a ride? I doubt it'll be half as exciting as the last trip we took. Not if I have anything to say about it anyway.
And the horse we rode in on, or the chocobo carriage, whatever.
Let's not dawdle, eh? All aboard! I was stocking up on supplies over in Vesper Bay, you see, when your sister come up and begged a favour. Said her brother was having some trouble down in Ul'dah, and likely needed a helping hand getting away. Thinking them ruins would make a fine hiding place, I decided to try there first. And lo and behold, there you were! Aye, and judging by them soldiers as were pouring out of the city, I arrived not a moment too soon. Ha! Must have been fate that we happened to find you there, though, eh?
I had thought to look out for Alize, but 'twould appear she was the one watching over me. I've made such a mess of things.
And who might you be, young sir?
Pippin Taropin, Vice Marshal of the Immortal Flames. I had been on the Alamegan front these past few moons, but an urgent communication called me back to Ul'dah. Scarce had my boots touched the cobbles, though, when the streets erupted with cries of assassination. I immediately went in search of answers, and came across Master Alfino here. Needless to say, I did not think his imprisonment justified. The blame plainly lies with the Monitarists. Their greed and corruption are well known to me, but for them to take advantage of the situation with such alacrity...
Was that Pippin, you said?
Ain't that the name of General Aldin's lad?
Yes, I am his son. Adopted, of course. 'Twas only as we were leaving Ul'dah that I learned of father's fate. Once I have seen you a safe distance away, I mean to return to the city and extricate him from this madness.
Then you needn't travel no further than Blackbrush. Our fugitives have a friend waiting for them there.
I dreamed of bringing about Eorzea's salvation, but in the end, 'twas I who needed saving.
This was supposed to be fun. The inevitable gang wars that were definitely going to happen were supposed to be just a game. Hate to see it happen to you, Alphinaud. I guess the voice acting is done. Them soldiers will keep searching for a while yet. Reckon we'll take the carriage back towards Ul'dah and get the lay of the land. Maybe provide a distraction if need be. You three wait here. Help will be along shortly. Stay strong, friends. The real fight's to come. Alright, let's go. And here we are, just back in the game. I was wondering when the music would kick in. If we wanted to, we could just walk back towards Ul'dah, but that wouldn't be very RP, would it? As part of the compliance of the game, even when major events like that happen, you're still given access to all of the things available in A Realm Reborn, everything that you've already gotten to, which includes everything that's back in the city and whatnot. Even though you're, right now, a wanted criminal, technically. It's a little bit strange, but I guess this is their big finale for Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn, as you make your way into Heavensward, leaving Eorzea, or I guess the part of Eorzea that you know, you're a criminal. It's actually something I kind of like, despite how awkward it is to think about the game design where you can just teleport back to Ul'dah whenever you want. All the same, it is interesting. How could I have been so blind? The most unassuming folk can prove to be our greatest allies. That fellow was but a passing merchant, yet he lent us aid without a moment's hesitation, or any hint of concern for his own safety. So I can well imagine how a man could feel inspired to risk all in your presence. Father spoke often of you, Komoy, and long have I looked forward to our first meeting. Needless to say, this is not how I envisioned it. Master Alphinaud, you must not give in to despair. That would only play into our enemy's hands. As long as you and Komoy are free, we may still set things right. Forgive me, Master Terrapin, but Alphinaud, my boy, sorry to keep you waiting. Ah, it's him. I was wondering. Cid, what are you doing here? Pulling you out of the fire, as usual. Your merchant friend told me everything. Truly, then he is no merchant but an angel in peddler's clothing. But tell us, how do you intend to bear our friend to safety? I hid the Enterprise but a short distance away. All I need is a destination. We must find a place beyond the reach of both the Monitress and the Crystal Graves. Coerthus, Ishgard will not suffer the intrusion of foreign forces in their territory. That settles it with me, everyone. Not I fear. I must remain here. I dare not abandon Ul'dah to the Monitorists and their cronies. You may be certain that they will seek to defame you, both here and in other city-states. But know that I shall do my utmost to thwart their every effort. Frankly, I do not expect it to be much of a challenge. The small folk will not turn so easily on the Warrior of Light and her allies, no matter what the Monitorists claim. So there you go. You can still go back to the other city-states and whatnot to interact with small folk or whatever, whoever has side quests. But I guess the bigger people will still treat you as a, at this point in the plot, a convict or whatever. Marshal Terrapin, I do not know what to say. Now that your father would... Now that father would labor to believe. But enough talk. You must go, Master Afinode. Your airship awaits. Up. There's no rest for the righteous. We should make for Count Dragonhead and speak with Lord Horshavant. Mayhap he will know what to do. That's always been you, Afinode. You always know what to do. And that's it. Guess I could quickly make my way over there. But just thinking about that cutscene, I want to take it slow. First of all, a lot of that cutscene felt a little bit awkward, but I guess that's just normal. Trying to pin a crime on the signs of the 7th Stalin sounds kind of unbelievable no matter how you try to put it. I guess it just goes to show how deep the tendrils are of Adeleji and Lord Lolorito. How deep they were into the Brass Blades and the Crystal Braves and everyone. Kinda weird. This is a little bit of an awkward point in the story, like I mentioned, for the reasons of you becoming a convict on the run from the law, but also for just, in general, storytelling here in Final Fantasy XIV. You're dealing with the Ascians and the Garleans, but the big finale to Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn, the base game, and I guess the patches, rather, to that base game, right up until Heavensward, the greatest enemy is a Monitorist. Go figure. They hint at a larger plot, but I guess that was just Lord Lolorito with all of those hinting cutscenes that they showed, right? Without getting into too much spoilers, this isn't really what the main plot is going to be about in the rest of the game. Going into Heavensward, obviously the plot is going to be all about, well, Ishgard and dragons and whatnot. And from there on, every subsequent expansion is going to expand, but it just feels a little bit weird that the big finale to A Realm Reborn is technically these monitorists and their plot. It was pretty dramatic. I do give them credit for that whole cutscene where, one by one, we lose sight of our friends. Or I guess 2 by 2. Whatever. And it was a sobering experience for Alphinaud. As awkward as some of it might be, I think it's a critical experience, or a critical part to the whole experience. Primarily for Alphinaud. He's not looking too great. Alphinaud's Crystal Braves. I guess our own Crimson Blaze is going to be left waiting on us. Not that our group was much better than Alphinaud's. Loose bonds and whatnot. Lord Horshaphant has agreed to grant us succor. He says that we will be safe here. Master Alphinaud told me of your fate, told me your tale, Komoy. It warms my heart that you should turn to me before all others, and I shall endeavor to deserve your trust. Alas, the situation here has grown more complicated in your absence. 'Twould be best if I explained in full. We have our own troubles to deal with, but go ahead. Tell me all about your problems.
There has been word from the capital. Ishgard has weathered another assault, and 'tis said several wyverns broke through into the city proper.
So then that wasn't just a thinly veiled lie laid on by Teleji. I thought it was, but I guess it really did happen.
The temple knights succeeded in slaying the beasts, but the intrusion prompted orders to further strengthen the guard, and to place the city under a perpetual state of alert. How keenly we feel the loss of our wards at the gates of judgment. Yet we must not bemoan our misfortune. Sir Emmerich is safely returned from Ul'dah, and once more leads the defense of Ishgard. As for the matter of your asylum, I am afraid no progress will be made until the threat to our nation is diminished. But do not despair. You are not without allies.
You're referring to yourself? I guess we could do worse.
You are more than welcome to shelter here for as long as you wish. Pray, think of it as a new headquarters of sorts. The falling snows, or some such.
A little too soon, Horshaphant, but we appreciate the gesture. The rising sands, or rather, the waking sands, and then the rising stones. Now the falling snows. A little bit too quick.
All frivolity aside, any who come here in search of you will receive no aid from House Fortom. For once, the Ishgardian reputation for inhospitality shall work in our favor.
I like that. It's a little bit funny, I admit.
Agents of Ul'dah will find their every inquiry dismissed, and their every request for entry rebuffed, until such time as their masters have acknowledged your innocence.
Usually the whole Ishgardian reticence is something that's a little bit aggravating, even from an observer-spectator standpoint. But hearing it now, yeah, I kinda like it.
You once fought to preserve the honor of my dear friend. 'Tis a blessing that I may now repay that debt in kind.
He's referring to Francel, the dragon cultist who isn't actually a dragon cultist. I remembered his name.
But let us dwell no more on this. Pray, join the rest of your companions. 'Tis bitterly cold this day. I suspect there are those who might welcome the warmth your presence brings.
Just checking in. Who managed to escape? And what of those who did not? That's a good question. I guess Papa Limo and Ida were kind of handling a bunch of guards out in public. They seem to have a handle on things, but that huge explosion that Ida caused probably didn't reduce the whole building to rubble like it looked like. Maybe they still had to deal with more guards after that. I guess being out in public, their chances of escape weren't that great. But who knows, maybe Ida really did punch them all or something. And then Thancred and Y'shtola, they were trapped underground, but then they kind of committed an act of self-immolation there and blew up the tunnel right above their heads or something. I don't know about their chances. And then Minfilia, spirited away by Hydaelyn, by whatever that floating blue orb was, maybe a literal spirit. How can we possibly even know what happened to her? What could Hydaelyn have any stake in this, or what could Hydaelyn's stake in this have even been? Why tell her at this very moment to turn around? In what way does that help her? This is all about the Monitress, and then Hydaelyn just sends that message. How strange. But I'm sure we'll get to that. Maybe. The intercessory awaits, Kamoy. Pray do not keep your companions in suspense. I am certain their hearts will soar at the sight of you. What companions? Did anyone else get out of there? Greetings, madam. Shall I show you inside? And here we go again. Don't worry, this won't be like the last one. I'm pretty sure. Upon proceeding to the intercessory, several cutscenes will play in sequence. It is recommended that you set aside sufficient time to view these scenes in their entirety. Alphinote, Komoy, is that really you? I'm so happy that you are. I tried contacting Minfilia and the others, but no one would respond. And then the Crystal Braves, our own people, turned on us in the marketplace. Philomene told me to run, and so I did. I ran and I ran until my lungs burned and my feet ached. But I lost my way, and then... Fortunately, I had observed some of the Braves behaving suspiciously beforehand. Ah, yes, my mask. It was lost in the struggle. This would be the official reveal of, I guess, the Aura race, which Yugiri was supposed to be like a teaser for. Pretty, isn't she? Anyway, after Yugiri found me, we traveled to Vesper Bay and met up with Urianter. I'm so glad. I was wondering about him the whole time. Of course, I knew he'd be okay. When we told him what had happened, he used his magics to weave a glamour around the waking sands. From the outside, our old headquarters now looks like an abandoned storehouse. Tataru, that's what it always looked like. I guess it just looks even more abandoned now. The transformation didn't take long either. Apparently, Uriander started making preparations after the Imperial attack, just in case the Empire ever chose to pay us another visit. Good thinking, eh? That is actually a detail that I like to hear. The Garlean Empire invasion on the Waking Sands was just so sudden. It felt a little bit strange when we came back there to be our base of operations. I mean, we shortly moved to the Rising Stones after, but I guess that they had this preparation in place just feels a little bit more safe. Sorry, where was I? Oh yes, so we waited there at the Waking Sands, hoping others would come, but no one else did. My people are searching for the other scions even as we speak, but we have met with no success as yet. I had hoped that you might be able to suggest further places to look. Ah, but you should know. The Rising Stones did not share the Waking Sands' good fortune. Only crystal graves await you there. Be that as it may, we yet have cause to hope, do we not? If the two of you escaped, it is not impossible that the others could have done so as well. You may have been forsaken by men and women believed true, but rest assured that the people of Doma yet stand with you. We welcome this opportunity to repay our debts, and shall continue our efforts to locate the others, and see the Scions restored to their rightful place of honor.
"'Tis all my doing. I believed myself the only one who truly understood Eorzea's woes, and look what that arrogance has wrought. I gave commands, influenced governments with my certainty. I treated the Crystal Braves, and even the Scions themselves, as pawns in my great scheme to save the realm."
Yeah, that kind of was his early characterization. Pretty arrogant. I always liked it. But I guess in the end he was just a snide brat after all. No offense.
But in my headlong rush into imagined glory, I paid no heed to the ground upon which I trod. The salvation of Eorzea. What was it that I hoped to achieve? Did I believe that I could rid the realm of every danger and difficulty? That I could defeat the Empire and the Ascians, and find homes for every refugee?
At least he tried. No one else did.
Oh, yes. I was so very clever. "Become a guardian of Eorzea," I implored, and sat back to watch my perfect army cleanse the land of chaos, which was all but a means to feed my own vanity. Only when all is lost do I finally realize the truth.
Oh, Alphino.
So, Master Alphino, are you content to remain a broken blade? Is there no flame hot enough to reforge you? What of the fine companions who yet stand at your side? I dare say the fires of their determination will soon have you slicing the air again with your customary wit.
Thanks, Horsefont. I do so enjoy Alphinode's customary wit.
I hardly deserve such friendship. And besides, where are we to go?
Alphino, if I may? Should this place not serve our purpose, then we shall go to Ishgard. Minfilia told me many times, as long as we stand fast against despair, the beacon of hope will never be lost to sight. Be it in the snow or in the clouds, we few will see that the dawn's light shines again.
You are right, Tataru. Thank you. And thank you for your kind words, Lord Orchefon. 'Tis true that Eorzea yet has her guardians. The Scions have achieved much, and 'twould be remiss of me to discard it all in a fit of self-pity. Let us then resume our journey, together, one step at a time.
Meanwhile, And that's it. That's Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. All of the base game and the patch quests. All of the raids and the side quests that I care to do. Let's go ahead and turn on the fast forward. I will let the credits play out. I guess these credits, the pictures in the background, are all playing from the beginning of the patch 2.1 quest up to patch 2.55, which we just completed. Normally I save my thoughts for completing a game after I've, well, finished it entirely. But I guess since Final Fantasy XIV is such a long series, I might as well put in my thoughts during these credits whenever they roll, which would be at the end of any expansion's base game, and I suppose at the end of any expansion's patch quests like we are in now. A post-mortem on Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. I think the story is awkward at points, both the base game and the patch quests. You're kind of led all over the place, just for the sake of, well, touring the different areas that are placed in front of you, which I mean, I guess is obvious. That's pretty much what any game with a game world will do. They'll tour you around the place. But it often felt like the stories were loosely connected. The summoning of primals and whatever, sure, that's one thing. But their stories are kind of disconnected from each other. They're all obviously motivated by different reasons, all of the different beast tribes or whatever. It all connects down by the Ascians, whenever they're dipping their fingers into everyone else's pies or whatever. Which I guess would be the summoning of the Beastmen and, for whatever reason, the Ultima weapon, helping out the Guardians there. That's still something that I can't really say why they're helping with, other than the general wanting to spread chaos throughout the realm sort of deal. But because of all of that mysterious background plotting that they're doing, it's hard to really say that the story in A Realm Reborn is a completely coherent tale, at least that's how I feel. Things really come together when you start battling the Guardian Empire and start taking them down at the end. I think that's when it's at its strongest, when it's you and the Scions versus the Guardians, and the Ascians when they care to actually be front and center. But then the patch quests get into the summoning of some disparate primals one by one, just again egged on by the Ascians. And then you deal with a little bit more of the Ascians, as we see in the background here. I guess it becomes a little bit of a lead-in for their deeper machinations that will come in much later on. Can't really fault the game for that, just have to plant it seed by seed, step by step, until you get to the big finale with the Ascians, but just judging Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn on its own, I guess the Ascians are a little bit too thick to get any real enjoyment out of. But it'll come. Their characterization will come around, and I guess the writing will reflect that. I guess it's something that you come to appreciate whenever anyone says don't be a cutscene skipper, even for A Realm Reborn. It doesn't necessarily mean that A Realm Reborn is going to be something that you come around on, not necessarily, but rather that having an understanding of the story here gives you an appreciation for everything that comes later. And in fact, I guess it is true that everything that comes later makes everything here in A Realm Reborn make a little bit more sense, or just be a bit more coherent. The characterization that's a little bit better towards the later expansions somehow echoes back in these earlier ones. And here, playing on my second character, I can look both forwards and back. I have the foresight and the hindsight to see where things are maybe a little bit awkward and where things really come together. All in all, I think I'm glad that I played on this second character, just to appreciate how things were. On my main character, I may have sped through things because I watched a playthrough of A Realm Reborn without really paying attention myself. Even though I paid attention to my main character a little bit, I think this is the first time I really tried to pick things apart, try to dissect what people were planning when they were creating this story. And I don't really have everything down. I'm not exactly a lore master. Not exactly the best player of the game either. And my voice acting is pretty terrible too. Still glad I got this all for posterity in this video diary. I think moving into the future, I'm probably going to cut down on how frequently I upload these. A Realm Reborn was pretty convenient for me in terms of getting episodes out there, or rather, getting used to the whole idea of putting myself on a schedule to play video games. Uploading a video every day for A Realm Reborn proved to be so effective that I could expand into uploading 2 videos every day, and then at this point I'm now juggling 4 different games, 2 videos every day. What I'll probably do moving forward is just upload 1 video for Final Fantasy XIV every other day, and then leave it so that the 4 videos or 4 games that I'm juggling upload in the same schedule, 2 videos every day, with 1/4 of my attention divided among them equally. I think that'll let me get to some other games that I do want to record with a little bit more frequency than I'm currently doing. I've been leaving 9 Souls and On Your Tail and even Infinity Nikki on the background, just kind of on a once every 3 days sort of thing. Switching Final Fantasy to every other day will be a little bit of a relief for letting me enjoy some newer games. Which is, I guess, why I started this whole channel in the first place, to play more video games. Not just the games that I've played before, though I do enjoy taking a look back on Final Fantasy XIV. I think the new schedule will probably make Heaven's Ward last even longer in terms of time than A Realm Reborn did. But probably less episodes to do Heaven's Ward, because I'll be wasting my time on less side content, I think. No weird adventurer squadron stuff, to really take away the time from the main story or whatever. Though when I get to the patch quests in Heaven's Ward, I don't know, there might be some things. Notably also in Heaven's Ward, the raid design will also be a little bit more conducive to matchmaking. So I won't have to do any weird stuff to solo level and just take on those raids on my own. No more nail Deus damn darnest situations. I turned off the fast scroll because I thought we were at the end, because this seemed to be the last picture, but maybe I'll put it back on. Really thought we'd be at the end by now. Well, it doesn't matter. One notable thing about these patch quests that lead into the next patch, it's true for all of them. It's kind of weird that you know exactly where you're going based on trailers for the next expansion, about 3 patches before you get to that expansion. So just through trailers that are released before the actual expansion comes out, you know you're going into Ishgard, or whatever. You just don't know how you're being directed there, and in this case, you're going there as a wanted criminal or whatever, sort of. It's the same thing for, what was it, Stormblood. You know you're going to Alamigo and even to Kugane, which I can see from the map if I were to open up after these credits. You just don't know how you're going there after Heaven's Ward. And then I guess the outlier to that would be the Shadowbringers expansion, which is pretty spoilery. It doesn't appear on the map where you're going there, I don't think. And I guess I wouldn't really know when the trailers were coming out for Shadowbringers how people thought they were going to be going to the location from those trailers in the first place. It's hard for me to comment on that because I only started playing around Endwalker. And in that they would tease that you're going to Charlian, that place that we've heard so much about, where all of the Scions are basically from, and a bunch of other places that I won't care to mention. But even so, they still, for every expansion, keep a bunch of places hidden from you. You know, some places where you're going, but not everywhere. The same is true for Heavensward, I guess. But the point is that, at every point in time, around patch, I don't know, X.3 or X.4 or whatever, depending on the release schedule, you know exactly where you're going, and it's a bit of a puzzle piecing together how you get there. The patch quests tend to be kind of their own thing, tangentially related to the story of the base expansion, not always. So it's a bit of a toss-up on whether exactly you can piece together the story threads in your own mind. It's not always an easy thing to do. And then Dawn Trail, which was coming after the whole light and dark, whatever you'd call it, that whole series. It's hard to say exactly when you're beginning an entirely new arc or whatever for all of the expansions moving forward, how exactly the patch quests are going to connect into the new area. That was my first time, and my only time, as of the time of recording, actually experiencing live that experience that I just described, of knowing where you're going from the trailers but not how you get there. And in that case, the story was only tangentially related to the base expansion, obviously because they used the base expansion to wrap up the whole story, pretty much. And in that time I just wondered what exactly we're going to do to connect the dots. Maybe by the time we get to the new expansion after Dawn Trail, I'll be able to better piece together the plot. Speaking of plots, what exactly was the plot here?
All has been arranged as you desired, my lord.
What's he so unhappy about? Wasn't all of the cryptic camera work pointing towards him as the mastermind? Well, at least he made it out. And then them. They always have to have their fingers in everyone else's pies, right? What could they have had to do with this whole thing, if anything? Probably not anything. No, this is just a post-mortem on us killing Nabrialis. Nabrialis is no more. The Ardor was not his to invoke. His demise was of his own making. Nevertheless, it concerns me. They have extinguished that which should rightly be eternal. Mayhap he was not wholly mistaken. Greater haste may be warranted. We are of one mind. The northern lands, then. A finger in everyone's pies. For Endwalker, or rather for... What's the expansion we're going into? Dragon Song? Why am I forgetting this now? Heavensward. The land, the earth is fertile, and the seeds well sown. By my will, they shall reap salvation unlike any the world has known. By his will. by his will. I have answered thy summons, emissary. Speak and make thine intent known. I would speak of fate, Archon, yours and mine, the fate of this very star. That's a hell of a stinger to leave you on, and we're not even done. Those guys killed Moonbreeder, you know? I'm sure Oriandra knows most. And what do you want?
Thou thinkest sanctuary lieth beyond. Delusion, despair, death. Thou shalt find naught else here.
To preserve the dawn's light, the heroes journeyed north. Their hearts filled with hope, and eyes fixed heavensward. That one didn't rhyme, but they don't all rhyme. And that's it. From here, it's the beginning of heavensward. No matter how long it takes, I have faith we will find the others. With Lady Yugiri's shinobi, Odiandra's intelligence, and my versatility, there's nothing we cannot do. Can we talk to him without... No. Yeah, there's no option to talk to him without going into this. Just wanted to see what dialogue he might have had while you were waiting for the actual expansion to come out. But I guess that's it. I already gave my thoughts, so I guess it's just time to end the recording. What a wild ride. Gomori's gaze is turned heavensward, but we should take a moment to rest before we face it. We'll be ready when the dawn comes. Until then, I'll just end it with what's become my usual sign-off for the end of a series. Good evening, good night, and good morrow.